So my husband's a liar and a total gaslighter. He even decided to shack up with my sister when I couldn't get pregnant. Guess what? I ended up pregnant anyway. Now he's furious that I'm still going through with the divorce. Growing up, my older sister Nicole was my ride or die. We were tight. She was my best friend, my confidant, the one I went to with all my worries. From the moment I could walk and talk, it was Nicole I turned to for everything. Our parents really pushed for us to be close, and it worked. Nicole had this natural warmth about her. She was patient, kind, and always up for giving me a hug or a comforting word when I needed it. We spent endless hours building forts, playing with Barbies, and diving into our own little world of make-believe. Every night, Nicole would read me stories until we both dozed off. When I started school, I was a mess, crying and begging my parents not to leave me. Nicole, being a few grades ahead, promised to watch over me. True to her word, she'd check on me during her lunch breaks, and it was the best feeling knowing she was there. After school, she helped me with my homework since our parents worked long hours. Her patience was next level. She'd break down math problems and help me craft my English stories, always making me feel smart and capable. Thinking back, yeah, our parents totally made Nicole take on a lot of responsibility for me. Maybe things would have been different if that wasn't the case. But as a kid, Nicole was my go-to for everything, even over my mom, because she just got me. Sadly, I was too young to see how much Nicole struggled with her own mental health. She had no one to lean on. Our parents did their best to provide for us, working full-time and giving us a pretty good childhood despite the financial challenges. But Nicole felt neglected. I wish our parents had given her more attention and love. I remember once walking into her room and seeing her cutting herself. She freaked out when she saw me, but I pretended not to notice. I didn't get the seriousness of it back then, just thought it was some dumb teenage thing. Things got worse when Nicole developed a drug problem before graduating high school. Her grades tanked and she was constantly in trouble, fighting in class, yelling at teachers. Our dad, the stricter parent, would lecture her for hours, sometimes even taking off her bedroom door as punishment. Nicole would scream back about how she hated everything. The house was a war zone. The tension was unbearable. One night, Nicole tried to run away with her sketchy boyfriend. We found a nasty letter she left behind, full of insults and threats. My mom was devastated, clutching that letter and crying. Dad called 911, his hands shaking. Nicole was still a minor and clearly not in her right mind because of the drugs. Eventually, she was found in some seedy motel with her boyfriend, who was arrested. Nicole was brought back home. I hoped she'd realize how much our parents cared, but instead, she exploded in anger, blaming them for everything. Dad tried to reason with her, saying she needed professional help, but Nicole freaked out even more, throwing things and threatening to kill herself if she was forced into rehab. Our parents stood firm, though. They locked her in her room to keep her from hurting herself further, and it was heartbreaking. The days that followed were a blur. Mom and Dad did everything to get Nicole admitted to rehab. Nicole kept lashing out, her mood all over the place. When the day came for her to leave, it was brutal. I tried to hug her, but she pushed me away and spat on me. It was shocking, but Mom assured me that Nicole was just in pain. I understood, but it still hurt. For weeks, I kept praying and holding on to the hope that Nicole would come back to us all healed up. When she finally got released after 2 long months, she actually looked way better. Her face wasn't all gaunt anymore, and she even had some color in her cheeks. When our parents and I went to pick her up, we were super excited, hoping that life could get back to as normal as possible. I distinctly remember Mom's eyes welling up with tears of relief as she hugged Nicole gently, while Dad gave her shoulder a reassuring squeeze. I tried to hug her too, but she totally ignored me, so I awkwardly stepped back, not really sure what to do or say. I had missed her like crazy and was just so happy to see her again. On the way home, Mom kept telling Nicole how happy we were to have her back and mentioned that she had kept her room neat and tidy, just the way she liked it. Dad had even picked up her favorite candies and cookies from the store. I had made her a card, pouring out how much I missed her and how glad I was to have her back. Nicole didn't even glance at the card, which kinda stung. I guess our parents were so focused on taking care of her that they didn't immediately notice how weirdly she was acting towards me. The days that followed were super tense and confusing. Nicole spent most of her time holed up in her room and started avoiding me like the plague. Whenever I saw her in the kitchen or living room, she'd just walk away. I tried giving her space, thinking maybe she just needed some time to adjust. But it quickly became clear that something was way off. Every time I tried to chat or make some casual conversation, she'd snap at me with eyes full of anger and resentment. "What do you want?" she'd hiss, her voice ice cold. "Can't you just leave me alone?" One evening, when our parents were out, I thought maybe we could clear the air and have a heart-to-heart. So I knocked on her door, hoping to reconnect. "Nicole, can I come in? I just want to talk," I asked. "Go away!" she screamed from the other side. "I don't ever want to see your stupid face." I stood there, stunned and hurt, not understanding why she was pushing me away when I hadn't done anything to her. I missed the sister who used to be my confidant, who helped me with my homework and shared late-night talks. Now she just seemed like a stranger. Our parents tried to mediate, but that only made things worse. Whenever mom or dad talked to Nicole about why she was so mad at me, she'd yell about how she wished they had never had another child and how she wished mom had aborted me. Hearing that was soul-crushing. For me, Nicole was my hero, the person I looked up to. To hear her say she wished I had never been born was the cruelest thing ever. And it wasn't just said in a moment of anger or during a fight. I realized it was something she genuinely felt. Family dinners became painfully awkward. Nicole would glare at me, roll her eyes, or make fun of me whenever I tried to talk about my friends or grades. She'd loudly call me a loser or a nerd, saying I didn't deserve any friends. Our parents would try to shut her up, but I'd just sit there, picking at my food, trying to hold back tears and wondering what I did to make her hate me so much. The change in Nicole was heartbreaking. She seemed to be carrying so much pain and anger, and I had no clue how to reach her. I missed her more than ever, but every attempt to reconnect was met with hostility. Her anger towards me grew so much that she even started plotting ways to hurt me. I'm severely allergic to peanuts, and everyone in my family knows that. One day, Nicole made chicken salad for dinner. It seemed fine at first, but then I started feeling uneasy. Mom suddenly realized there were tiny pieces of chopped peanuts in the salad. She immediately yelled at Nicole, asking if she had used peanuts, and Nicole said she had, to make the salad crunchier. By then, my throat was almost closing up. Mom jumped up, rushing to my side, screaming, "Nicole, how could you?" But Nicole just stood there, looking indifferent. "It's not a big deal," she muttered. "She must be pretending." Dad sprang into action, grabbing my EpiPen from the kitchen drawer and administered the injection, while Mom called 911, her voice trembling. The seconds felt like hours as we waited for the ambulance. I was losing energy, struggling to breathe, feeling a mix of betrayal and sadness. My own sister, who used to care so much about me, had put my life at risk. The paramedics arrived quickly and rushed me to the hospital. The ride was a blur of sirens and concerned faces as I fought to stay conscious. Later that night, as I lay in the hospital bed, exhausted and drained, my parents sat by my side, their faces filled with worry. "We're so sorry, honey," Mom said softly, tears streaming down her face. "We'll make sure this never happens again." Dad nodded, his expression grim. "Nicole will have to answer for what she did. We won't let this slide." I don't recall the exact punishment my parents gave Nicole, but honestly, it was probably too lenient given how serious the situation was. The whole incident left me shaken. The trust I had in Nicole was completely shattered, and I didn't feel safe in my own home. As time went on, I started spending more and more time in my room just to avoid her. Our parents tried to get Nicole into therapy, but she was so manipulative that even the therapists were convinced she was fine and downplayed her actions as just a dumb mistake. Their reassurances only made things worse, as Nicole refused to apologize and kept treating me with hostility. I was so scared of eating anything in the house that I started going to bed hungry, which took a toll on my health. Seeing my struggle, Mom came up with a solution. "Sure. Here's a more casual and expanded version of the text." To help me feel more secure, Mom got me a small fridge with a lock for my room. She persuaded me to keep some snacks in there, promising that it would be a safe spot where Nicole couldn't mess with my food. Her idea was a total game changer. Knowing I had my own secret stash that only I could access gave me a sense of control over my well-being. It let me relax and eat without fear, which eased the anxiety that had been haunting me for so long. Without Mom's understanding and support, I might have kept suffering in silence, risking my health even more. Looking back, I realize how dangerously close I was to developing an eating disorder because of the stress and anxiety Nicole's actions caused me. Mom's intervention stopped that from happening. When I finally graduated high school and went off to college, it felt like I was a brand new person. Not having to constantly watch my back or worry about my sister trying to hurt me was a huge relief. The freedom and independence of college life were such a welcome change from the nonstop stress and anxiety I dealt with at home. Living away from Nicole let me focus on my studies and personal growth without any fear hanging over me. I threw myself into new experiences, made friends who really got me, and pursued my interests with a newfound enthusiasm. I could finally breathe and figure out who I wanted to be without the constant fear of being bullied. During this time, I met Keith. We were friends for a while before dating. It was just a natural progression since we both excelled in our studies and shared a love for anime. Our shared interests and deep friendship laid a strong foundation for our relationship. Before long, we fell in love. Keith was someone I could truly connect with on so many levels. We spent endless hours talking about our favorite anime series, debating characters and plot twists, and supporting each other through the challenges of college life. He understood me in a way no one else did, and I was drawn to his kindness, intelligence, and sense of humor. When Keith and I got married, our parents convinced me, somewhat reluctantly, to invite Nicole. They assured me she had changed over the years. Nicole never went to college and had been living off our parents, working only a part-time job as a cashier. Every time I came home during college breaks, she would find new reasons to fight with me and be super disrespectful. Despite my reservations, I invited her to the wedding, hoping she could keep her emotions in check and let me enjoy just one day in peace. But nope, Nicole showed up in a white dress, clearly trying to steal the spotlight. I was shocked and hurt by her blatant disregard for my happiness. Keith and his family were just as stunned. It felt like Nicole was trying to overshadow me. Again. Luckily, my dad stepped in and asked her to leave, despite her protests, even threatening to kick her out of the house if she caused any more trouble. Mom and Dad later apologized, admitting they should have listened to my concerns. Other than that little hiccup, my wedding was flawless, so I didn't hold Nicole's actions against my parents for too long. Keith and I have been married for 3 years now. We both have great jobs and even bought a house together. At first, our marriage was filled with date nights and a healthy sex life, but we faced a big challenge. We couldn't conceive. We both wanted kids so badly, so we underwent all sorts of medical tests. The doctors found nothing wrong and kept telling us to keep trying. While I always trusted the universe's timing, Keith is super methodical and needed to control everything. He got obsessed with researching potential issues and started pushing me to try different diets every month, hoping to boost our chances of getting pregnant. It became overwhelming and stressful. I understood his need for answers, but the constant pressure to change my lifestyle was too much. When I tried to talk to him about it, he would yell at me, accusing me of not trying hard enough and comparing me to his mom, who had no trouble having 3 kids. His harsh words and erratic behavior created tension between us, and we started drifting apart. Then, I found out Keith cheated on me, twice, with different women he met at bars. Each time he got caught, he begged me not to leave, professing his undying love and promising he wanted nothing more than a family with me. But soon after, he'd start gaslighting me, blaming me for his actions. Recognizing this toxic cycle, I began mentally detaching from our marriage. Last week, I finally confided in my best friend. I had been too ashamed to admit what I was going through. She listened without judgment and helped me see that my feelings were valid. She encouraged me to prioritize my well-being and consider leaving Keith. The very night I planned to talk to Keith, he didn't come home. I called him multiple times, but he ignored me. Furious, I drove to the bar he frequented. Imagine my shock when I saw Nicole and Keith cozied up, laughing and kissing. My world shattered. I took a few pictures and drove home, crying in the car. I packed my bags and went to my parents' place, falling into my mom's arms as I recounted everything. They couldn't believe Nicole would do such a vile thing, but the photos proved it. My dad was livid. He called Nicole and demanded she come home immediately. Sensing his anger, she showed up with Keith. Long story short, my dad threw out all her stuff while Nicole and Keith tried to explain how they were better suited for each other and asked us to give them a chance. Mom was so pissed. She literally shoved them out the door, telling Nicole never to come back. Since then, Keith has been calling and messaging, trying to explain and saying how sad and depressed Nicole is. He blamed me for involving our parents without talking to them first. Really? Update 1. My dad and his friends helped me move back to my childhood home. It feels surreal to be back. Nicole moved in with Keith, and she's been trying to reach out to our parents, but they haven't shown much interest in hearing her side. Keith claims they met accidentally at a bar months ago and that Nicole provided him comfort. Keith knew all about Nicole and me and even saw firsthand how she tried to ruin our wedding. He probably didn't give it much thought before getting involved with her because he's just sleazy. Nicole, always resentful towards me, likely saw pursuing my husband as a power move. They may have found the affair thrilling. Anyway, I'll be talking to a divorce lawyer this week. Update 2. It's been a month since my last update, and I have big news. I'm pregnant. It's something I've wanted so much, but I wish the circumstances were different. My parents have strongly advised against keeping the child, fearing it will tie me to Keith forever. I need to seriously consider my options. Informing Keith, his reaction was to suggest halting the divorce and starting marriage counseling. I couldn't help but laugh. I made it clear there's no chance we'd get back together. If I keep the child, our relationship would strictly be about co-parenting. Keith didn't take it well, yelling that he wished I'd gotten pregnant sooner so he could have chosen me over Nicole. His words left me disgusted. I'll update soon with my decision about the pregnancy, but one thing's for sure, I'm getting divorced. Update 3. I'm officially divorced from Keith. He has to pay substantial alimony, which helped me secure a new place. I'm thankful for my job and the unwavering support of my parents and friends. Also, I didn't go through with the pregnancy. It was an incredibly difficult choice, but given the circumstances, it felt like the best decision for both me and the potential child. As for Nicole and Keith, they broke up shortly after our divorce. They had a big fight and Keith kicked her out. She tried to come back to our parents, but they refused to let her in. She's now couch surfing and trying to save money. Hopefully, she takes this chance to mature and find a better direction in life.